Good afternoon and a warm welcome to our webinar. This webinar has got the title, Turn Trade Fairs into a Measurable Growth Channel. This webinar is arranged by Engage. My name is Lars Dahlberg, acting as the moderator and going to try to do my best to guide you through this webinar this afternoon. So we put together a session, a live session, a consultative one, where we're really focusing on industrial OEMs, on how digital product experience can help you to significantly increase trade fair ROI. What we also done is we packaged the content for specific roles. So we have 3 roles specifically in mind. It's sales enablement, it's product and BU marketing, and it's product management. So on top of the trade fair ROI value, there's a couple of other important things that we want you to learn. And for sales enablement, that is how you can enable your organization and channel partners to sell more effectively. And for product and BU marketing, we want to show you how you can make the brand stand out and get content that converts beyond the trade fair. And for product management, how you can make the product explain itself, which is great, of course, and support the sales team. So we're promising some ROI improvement here. So you might wonder what that could actually look like. So what you should actually realize after this webinar is that you can save costs with more than 20%, which is a very significant number and a lot of money because attending trade fairs is expensive. But you can also expect that you can lift your ROI with 40 to 60%, which is, of course, a major improvement. But also that you can reuse the trade fair experience everywhere. So let's look at how we've structured the content for this webinar for you. So this is what you will get. So first of all, we will talk a bit about some field data from some research that we conducted during the autumn 2025. We will explain 3 major moves that can really lift your trade fair ROI fast. And we will go through a case study based on SafeLine that significantly improved the leads generation for trade fairs. We will also run a customer testimonial from Hägglunds, and you will get a mini self-assessment where you can assess yourself to see how you can improve your trade fair ROI, and you will get the trade fair ROI guide after the webinar. So in the end of the webinar, we will explain what the Spark Pack is all about, that in 6 weeks that you can reach a better ROI for the next trade fair. And of course, we're going to do like a Q&A. And the Q&A works like this in Webinar Geek. You can find the private chat. So we're using the private chat functionality. You type in your questions. You can type in them whenever you want. We will answer in the end. And the audience, they will not see your questions. We will see your questions. So really look for that functionality. And with that, I think it's time for me to introduce today's speakers. Yes.
Hello, everybody. I was going to say good to see you, but I can't actually see you. But I'm very happy that you're all here. So I'm Thomas Kotkiewski. I'm the founder and CEO of Engage, and I have with me Christian.
Hi, I'm Christian Skumiał. I'm head of customer success at Engage.
Yeah, so great to have you both with us here. We have prepared a lot of content. It's pretty obvious, so I think we move ahead. So we're going to start with section 2 of this webinar to talk about some research findings. And Thomas, I know you visited together with some colleagues the automation and testing trade fair in Vienza in the autumn and gathered a lot of interesting insights. Would you like to share that with the audience?
Absolutely. It was great to be in Vicenza because it's always warmer there than here. And I spoke to a lot of the exhibitors there and did some interviews with them. And it was surprising, really, not what they did, but what they didn't do to measure the effectiveness of their trade fair presence. And I can tell you that about 80% of the people we spoke to had the main goal of capturing leads. This is the key goal that everybody seems to be having. And in most cases, their booths were dominated by large physical machines and products. But of course, when you take those products out of their context, it's not always possible to demo them in a trade fair. But what was surprising was that none of the exhibitors did anything at all to measure the level of engagement that they had with their visitors. So in their booths, as I said, almost everybody displayed physical machines and products. Some had video loops playing on big displays, and none of the exhibitors had any interactive digital demos. Yes, and of course the physical products were mostly not interactive either for the obvious reasons. And that's not so great given the cost realities of trade fairs. So on average, exhibitors spend between 300,000 and 1.5 million euros. And out of this, the biggest cost is, of course, the booth itself, building the booth, outfitting the booth, accounting for about 24% of the total. But shipping and installing the products is the second biggest cost at 14%. Then the third largest cost relates to promotion, including the pre-show outreach, promotions at the fair, giveaways, lead capture tools, and so on. And number 4 is travel, flights, hotels, and so on. And finally, staffing at 6% with temp staff and booth manning, overtime, local help at the fair, and so forth. But even with this high spending, the exhibitor had some challenges in common. First of all, they found it very difficult to attract the right visitors that were actually relevant to them. And then once people came to their booth, they often couldn't engage with all the visitors, because once a sales representative started talking to a visitor, they could, of course, not engage others who came into their booth. And with nothing else to engage the visitors wouldn't wait for the sales rep to be free. They simply turned and walked out. And another issue was that the story and the way that you present your business varies between individual sales reps and between different trade shows and between regions. And that inconsistency doesn't look very professional. And then most exhibitors didn't capture very much lead information. Other than maybe at best scanning people's badges. But with the actual sales happening so long after the trade show, it was then very difficult to prove the impact. And if they captured any data at all, it was often imperfect and incomplete. And this, of course, made it more difficult to follow up leads after the trade fair. Another thing that many brought up was that the materials they brought were only useful at the actual trade fair and couldn't be used for sales or marketing outside of the trade fair. So those were the main pain points in order of importance, actually. So, Lars.
Yeah, what do you think, Thomas? Shall we see if we can challenge the audience a little bit and run a little poll?
That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, let's see if they are awake here. And I think it's going to be really interesting for the participants to see what the answers will be. The question we want to ask you is, what are your top objectives when you participate in a trade fair? And I recommend you to pick 2 to 3 alternatives, maybe. There's going to be a list of different choices, and pick 2 or 3. And it's pretty easy to understand how this works. So just get ready, and we will launch the poll, and we will pop up on your screen so you can deliver your answers. So shall we start, Thomas?
Sure, let's go.
Yeah, let's see how it goes. So we'll see if we get any interaction going. Yeah, here it comes. Now they're starting to find the buttons. We cheer on the audience to see if we can get some more responses.
I see. You have to go into the tab there called interactions too. Okay, got it.
Yeah. You can see them if you click on interactions.
Yep.
So come on, audience, give us some more. Give us a little bit more response here as we see how it comes out. Yeah, what do you think? We have some results. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
some more coming in now. Yeah, I think we have a clear winner though.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so let's end this little interaction and see what the results looks like. And I'll end the interaction and we show the results for the audience. So now you can
Nice.
see the results. What do you say, Thomas?
Well,
What's your comment on this one?
yeah, well, it's much in line with what I heard in Vicenza. So on the top goal is to capture leads and contacts, which makes sense. That's what
Yeah,
trade fairs are great for, after all. And the second being starting sales deals and order processes. In some categories, that's hard because you know the sales process takes a long time. And then you have demonstrate unique product value. That's always a challenge, and something that I think digital demos can help with, because sometimes it's pretty hard to explain. And then you have the deliver product demos of new and existing products. So it's quite in line with what we saw in Italy.
yeah. All right, so it's interesting. I hope the audience also appreciated to see what other has got as their objectives for trade fairs. So let's move on, I guess. So we'll
Sure.
we'll hide the results and we move on. So let's move on, Thomas.
I've already moved on. So something that's really interesting here when we see these pain points and challenges that people have is what do the really good and pro exhibitors do differently? So one thing that they do is that they replace some of their physical products with digital demos, because this creates more engagement and makes it possible to demo things that normally would not be possible at the trade fair. And then they build the lead capture and analytics into the digital product, into the demo itself, so that they even capture leads from people who actually they didn't talk to in person, but who were just in the booth. And then they create booth content that they can use, of course, during the trade fair, but also before the trade fair and after the trade fair, to invite guests and promote their booth and to reach out to people who visited afterwards. So that's what they do, and yes.
Yeah. So thanks for that. Maybe we should move on now and see how they can really take some practical steps to improve.
Sure.
Or what do you think, Thomas?
Yeah. I mean, if I would only do one thing that would have a really strong effect, then I would replace one physical product with a digital demo, just like you can see in this photo, by the way, because this frees up space in the booth, and booth space is expensive. So you don't have to spend time and money on shipping and logistics for the product. And this, we know, can save around 22% of the cost of the trade show. And because the digital product demo is more engaging and can also be used outside the trade fair, that means that we can get better efficiency and a higher return on investment.
Yeah, this sounds really interesting, replacing one physical product. I think the audience is now very, very curious to see what this could actually look like. Maybe we can do a little demo, Thomas.
As it happens, I have one ready. So let's have a look at that. So we're going to be looking at an example from SafeLine, which is a global manufacturer of emergency systems for elevators. And sharing the right thing. This is what you saw on the photo. They had these touch screens in their booth, several of them actually, and here they could display and explain their products. And they brought 5 products with them, as you can see here below. Currently, we're looking at the Lyra, which is like a communications device that can talk to the phone network, and it is used to connect the emergency phone to the cell phone network. And so you can really get an understanding of, how does the product work, what are the key benefits, and make it a little bit more engaging than just showing, a box of electronics on a shelf in the booth. So we could even show, how easy these products are to install and other key features. So that was a quick look. And I think I'm going to let Christian talk a little bit more about SafeLine's case and the results that they have a little bit later on. And let's go back to the presentation. So, once we have the digital product in place, the next thing I would do is to make sure that I have analytics built into every digital demo. Because we can measure what people do with the product and what really interests them most about it. In what order do they explore the features? What features are most interesting? And how do these behavioral patterns differ between different trade fairs and regions and so on? And of course, if we do as we think you should and build in a call to action function into the digital demo that has a lead or email capture, then we can, of course, see how many people left their contact details and how those people behaved in particular. So this makes for better follow-up and also gives us something to learn from directly from the way that people engage with your product. And another bonus benefit is that such a digital product demo makes it easier to present a consistent story over time and over different regions. And that basically means that people who enter our booth can leave with the right expectations. They simply learn more and they learn better about the product. And everyone gets the same story. And of course, it also helps our sales representatives to speak with one voice. And, when you show a video or you have brochures or you have a machine or product that just sits there in the booth, then you aren't engaging the visitors. But a digital product demo turns the booth into an experience instead, so that visitors become explorers rather than just passive spectators. And in this way, they can learn by doing in a way that isn't possible otherwise. And we know from our data that we increase the engagement time by about 800% on average, just because the content is more engaging. And as you can see in this photo, this type of content also allows for good and interesting conversations between your sales reps and your booth visitors. And once you have this digital experience or demo, then it would really be a crime not to use it anywhere else. So you can send it to your network ahead of the trade show, invite guests, send it to customers who visit the booth afterwards, or just send it to all of the people in your CRM. You can also embed it on your website, embed it into your distributors and partners' websites, and why not also use it for onboarding and supporting your end users. So that's an important aspect of this. And if this sounds way too good to be true, then I'm sure you'd like to hear what results that Hägglunds, one of our customers, is seeing with this technology on their trade fairs. It's a few minutes long, but it's definitely worth your attention. So I don't know, Lars, if you can play the video.
Yeah, let's play the video. And this is really, really interesting. And I think you learn a lot from this video. So I'll start the video.
When we're talking about fairs and trade shows, the amount of cost that we can save by not bringing all of our motors exhibits to each individual spot is huge. So my name is Amanda Bergström. I work at Hägglunds and I'm the global brand manager for Hägglunds. That is a business unit within Bosch Rexroth. Well, we have multiple products that differ quite a lot, the types of applications and the key features for our products. And since our motors are so big, it was impossible to fit them all in a physical showroom. and to be able to transport them to different trade shows and fairs, it was just impossible. So when we started thinking about digital solutions, we said, let's have one-stop shop where we can talk about all our Hägglunds products in one place and keep it quite light and interactive, but still somewhere we could just showcase the different types of the solutions that we bring. Well, mining is one of our key industries that we have multiple different types of applications in a whole mine, and it also has different products on each application. So we really wanted to show that we could serve our customers with multiple applications and what the key benefits were on those specific applications. So we decided to have something that was more interactive and also that you could really easily browse through the different mines that felt familiar to our customers in the mining industry, and then easily could pinpoint the features of our product. Well, I think it was key for us to really be able to show our product in their natural environment. So it's more tangible for the customers to understand where our motors go, the amount of space they save on the applications for the customers, to really be able to show and visualize what kind of problems we solve for our customers. But also to really have a digital solution that could be brought anywhere. It could be easily shown at a fair or a big event, but also at the table at the customers. You could really bring it up and be able to explain in detail, specifically on applications or talk about specific motors in our showroom. We have fairs all over the world, from South America, Europe, Asia, US. So it's everywhere. So that was really easy for us, and then make the decision making before a fair and a show really easy, because we can bring everything digitally. Then also we have really good feedback on the more interactive mining world experience that from our sales guys, that they really think it's a tool that allows them to explain it further to our customers. Yes, we have had a lot of good experiences. We had the touch table where we can interact with customers at fairs where they can see. I think they were surprised at some of the applications that we were able to be serve our customers with our motors. But I also think that they were happy to see the amount of products we can offer. The feedback from them were I think from what I've heard is that they were surprised and think the tool was really easy to use. So it's just a really easy entryway to talk about all our range and also specifically on our applications on what we do. I think giving on-the-go tool to our sales representatives across the globe, one tool that they can easily bring everywhere, and really give our customers an added value, and to be able to explain what we do in a much more interactive and easy way than we've ever been able to do before. Yes, we are currently working on expanding our showroom and showcasing more interactive tools within specific products. But we are also having conversations about how we can go into further industries and more applications specifically as well going forward.
So, Thomas, yeah, thanks for that from Amanda, and I guess I hand it back to you to take it from here.
Sure. And actually, I'm going to start with asking Christian, because Christian is a person who's working hand in hand with our customers, Can you talk us through some of the practical steps that one can take to get results like Hägglund's and Amanda's team has had?
Sure. I would like to use the case of SafeLine as an example. SafeLine, as Thomas mentioned before, they make emergency communication systems for elevators. And their issue was to get visitors engaged in their booth. So they wanted to make the products come alive. And what they did was that they moved from physically displaying their products to the digital product demo with Engage. This let the visitors test drive SafeLine solutions and help them experience how SafeLine products create value. They use the digital demos of their products as the main attraction in their booth, and that was at the Interlift trade fair in Germany. The experience was available on 6 large touchscreens, but visitors could also scan a QR code and take the experience home, share it with others, and that made it easier for SafeLine to capture lead details. And the results were really strong. I like the quote from Camila here. She said that they had never had such strong engagement before. And this engagement left the SafeLine to quadrupling the amount of leads captured, which is obviously great. And also those touch screens were so popular with SafeLine sales representatives that their local offices almost fought to get one of the touch screens after the fair. But this product experience is not just used in their customer meeting, but also they use them on their website and share links via email. So now let me summarize the 5-step changes. So 1, today you have the physical products in your booth, but with Engage solution, you can get the digital demos instead, saving the logistics and space. 2, you have video loops in the booth, but now you can have experience that visitors can interact with, not just look at. Next, you were not able to measure visitors' engagements or get insights of what aspects of the products interest visitors most. Now you have the analytics built into the digital experience, which is measuring what they do. 4, it is difficult to get lead information from all visitors, but now you can connect the digital product demo to capture leads as a part of the experience, making the follow-ups and easier and effective. And last one, you had the content materials that really are only useful during the trade fair. And now you have the product presentation tool that can be used outside of the fair for sales, learning, training, and whatever else you can imagine can be useful. So these 5 changes will make your trade fairs more effective. Now, Lars, will you tell us about the self-assessment test to see exactly how effective your trade fairs are?
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Christian. I promised in the beginning that we put together a self-assessment for you, and we have. So this self-assessment, going to explain how it works, so you can do it after the webinar soon. But it will help you to understand how effective you are today, and a little bit about sort of the gap in how you can actually improve. And you will be able to score yourself, and so you can understand which sort of level you are at. It's going to be either at risk, you have high spend and low proof, or you're average, you have some structure but not proper measurement, or a top tier where you really have like a digital experience and consistent demonstrations of your products, and you are truly data driven. So these 3 levels, and how it works is that it's a pretty simple spreadsheet, and you can just fill in the answers for some key questions here, and then the system will score you on these 3 levels. So you will get it after the webinar, and you can use it for doing your own scoring to see your own potential for improvement. So with that, I think, Thomas, we have to talk more about how to go from one typical situation with your trade fairs into a much better one. And I know you have some suggestions for actually how to do that, and how they can get help to reach a new level.
But of course, if you were wondering how long it takes to create a digital product demo like the ones we've seen today, then I can tell you that we have a specific offer for trade fairs that we call the Trade Fair Spark Pack. And it takes about 4 to 6 weeks to get it ready for launch. And the process is quite straightforward. In the first week, we scope out the product demo. We learn what story the product will be telling, and we get the necessary materials from you, such as CAD files. And then from the second week, we can start building the product experience. We test it, we integrate it with your CRM, with your website, and so on. And we build a playbook that will help you use it correctly. And the next week, we deploy it so that your organization can try it and learn it and get used to it. And of course, figure out exactly how it's going to be technically delivered at the trade fair. And then, of course, during the event, we monitor everything and we stand by to fix any issues that may arise. And we also measure all the interactions so that we can give you insights immediately, practically on a daily basis. And when we measure all of these things, the most important or interesting data points will probably be, for one, the number of sessions. When visitors engage and interact with your product experiences, that's a session. And the second thing is, how long are those sessions? And as I know, and I said before, that from our data, we know that we increase the engagement time by 800%, which sounds almost crazy. But it becomes very interesting to know what visitors who interact for a minute are interested in versus what's interesting to visitors who interacted for 10 minutes or more about your product. And we will also see, of course, what order they explore the features of your product in, what captured their attention, which features were most important to them. And of course, because we are building in a call to action function, we can also see what the conversion rates are. How many times did people scan the QR code? How many times were emails filled into lead forms, or how many meetings were booked? So that's really nice. And then finally, it's also very good to measure and highlight how your customers use the digital product demos after the trade show in other channels, maybe on your website or partner websites, so that you can put the return on investment into perspective. So that's as far as measurement goes. But let's take a look at what value the Spark Pack can bring to the different roles that we have represented here today. So beginning with the value for people handling sales enablement and sales, of course, the key values is that you can get more qualified meetings. You can engage with more visitors during your trade fair. And you also get a consistent pitch for the sales reps. The demos will run without staff, so they're kind of self-serving, as it were. It helps you prepare your sales reps before the event and sort of unify how they present the product. And it makes for much easier follow-ups after the trade fair. If we look at the value for product marketing, well, I think the most interesting thing here, especially if you go to a big trade fair, is that you get booth content that really stands out and is different. Because as we heard before, most exhibitors don't have anything like this. Then you get better ROI on the trade fair, which you can prove by actual data. You get integrated lead capture. You get content that visitors take home and share and spread. And you get content that you can reuse for other purposes outside of the trade fair. And finally, through the measurements, you get insights into visitors' needs and interests, which can then inform your future messaging. And what about the value for product management? Well, I think one interesting thing here is that we can capture visitor objections and focus, and that gives us some hints into, are we explaining our product correctly? Do we have the features that we need? We can also have a tool that lets us explain the product in a more consistent manner. We get to support our sales on site. And we can feed both the marketing department and the salespeople with content that they can use for many different things, and helps them explain the product. And in fact, the more difficult and complex answers you need to give, the easier it is to answer them with these kinds of tools. So
Thomas, that was an interesting description of how to take steps towards improved ROI and the value. So I guess if the audience is interested in trying this out now, what would your recommendation be?
Well, I think that we're speaking in sort of in general terms here. So I think if we can meet and discuss your particular case, and that's always much better and more interesting. So during such a meeting, we would discuss your current trade fair setup. How are you doing it today? What trade fairs are you planning to attend this year? And then we can have a view on, how can the ROI be improved, and what is the actual potential for improving the ROI. And then, of course, talk you through the next steps you can take towards having a much improved trade fair presence. So that's what I think. And if you want to book a meeting, then you have several options. You can scan this QR code, of course, that we see on the screen, but you will also get emails with the materials and the recording later, so you can just answer those. And also my colleague Andreas Bjelvenstam, I have asked him to help me reach out to all the guests here today. So look out for communication from Andreas also in the coming days.
So thank you. I think it's time for us to wrap up. And we promised like a Q&A session when we started.
Yeah.
So I guess we move over to the Q&A, and just a reminder to the audience that for the Q&A, we use the private chat functionality and in Webinar Geek. So check out the private chat. You can type in your questions there, and the other participants will not see your questions. So we will start to see if we get some questions in. So let's see if we can get some questions. I think we have at least one or two since earlier in the webinar. So I guess we'll start with them. So this one, let me see now what they are writing here. They say, is there any limitations in terms of sort of what type of products, machines that you can use to create a digital representation of? That's
a really good question. I wouldn't really say that there is any limitation. Of course, the value goes up the more complex the product is, but we haven't yet had a customer with something that was too complex, or let's say it was too difficult. So, and it's not just the mechanical aspects of the products that we can simulate, but we can also simulate the processes, the environment in which the products are used. We can simulate the product's digital interface and how you can operate that. So there are really no specific limitations here.
Okay, thanks for that. So that's good news. And then we have another, I guess, pretty obvious question is sort of what devices can be used, or maybe what devices you recommend also. The question is what devices you can use.
Sure. Well, these digital product demos are made to be very lightweight and easy to use on any kind of device. So, you can, for the user, they can use any old. They can use an old phone that's like 10 years old. They can use a tablet. They can use a laptop or any other type of device with a screen and a browser. And from the perspective of trade fairs, then of course we recommend that you do like SafeLine did and put up big touch screens. Also, Hägglunds, they had an interactive table in their booth that users could go in and interact with. And that's great because it increases the visibility. And I don't know if you noticed, but in the SafeLine demo, when nobody was using it, it started animating and welcomed people to come up and try it, so to speak. So if you have that on big screens or tables or touch screens, then that's all the better. And then, of course, if you allow people to access the experience for themselves through, for example, a QR code, or when you put it onto your website, then whatever device they are using is any device at all, really.
Okay. Another, I guess, pretty obvious question here. What's the price of the trade fair Spark Pack? Is it possible to say a price?
Oh, yeah, it's very possible. I mean, we have a fixed price for the trade fair Spark Pack, and it's €7,500. It's a very easy answer.
Okay.
And by the way, I should also add that it's not just, we don't just build it and give it to you and then say bye-bye. We help you implement it. We help you sort of use it in the right way and get the most out of it. So that's all included.
Okay, we have a pretty long question here now. So I'll have to check first. Okay, hang on now, guys. I'll read the question. Do you think the way of measurement per application of actions you mentioned during and after fairs is applicable on any sector that works digital demos? I mean, any market, for example, art.
Hang on. Let me see if I got the question. Is measuring the effectiveness of the demo applicable on every sector?
Yeah. Is it the same type of measurements? That doesn't matter what type of machines it is.
Yeah, products. I mean, in the context of industrial manufacturers and OEMs, then the measurement is pretty. I mean, the reason why you should measure and what you get out of those measurements is pretty obvious, I think. And if you look at other sectors like art, I guess that that depends on what your goals are. Are you interested in understanding how people interact with your art, and are you interested to see if your art captures their attention? Well, then of course it makes sense to measure. I don't know if I answered the right question, but I hope so.
Yeah, but of course there's going to be different scenarios and you might have to think a bit differently. And then there is a little bit of a complementary question to this one as well. Not only the measurement, but also sort of the actions you take. So the actions you take with the, I guess, the product machine. Of course, that could differ, I assume.
Yeah, I mean,
or the actions you take based on the measurement.
Right. I mean, what we can do is we can correlate the measurements with another type of behavior. So, for example, what what interested people, or what features or aspects of the product did they experience when they only interacted for, say, 30 seconds? Which tells us a bit about, was this a relevant person for us? And then looking at how did the people behave who interacted with a product for 15 minutes, which is not unusual at all. We usually have about 20% of users, they interact with a product for 10 minutes or more, roughly about 20%. And that's a long time. So it's very interesting then, because that user is probably a potential customer. They are so interested in the product that they spend that much time, and they do that sort of interacting the whole time. So then it becomes interesting to know what was their behavior and how do the behaviors of these two groups differ. Also, you can then compare the behavior of groups depending on where did they interact with the product. Was it at the trade fair? Was it on our website? Was it in Germany? Was it in France? And then look at the patterns that emerge there.
Okay, we don't have any more questions right now, but you can think about some more questions because we have some more time. And while you think about these questions, I'm just going to repeat what you will actually receive after the webinar tomorrow. So you will get this research report that Thomas talked about from the ANT trade fair. And then we are also going to send you an ROI guide that we haven't really presented during the webinar, but it's a pretty comprehensive guide that gives you some clear guidance and recommendations based on what we've been talking about today. And as I promised, you will get the self-assessment spreadsheet. And of course, you get some contact information so you can book a discovery meeting. And we will also add a link to the recorded version of the webinar so that you can take a look at parts of it again or share it with others. So let's see now. I think we have potentially one more question here. It's also a long one. So I'll read the question. We'll see where we end up. Imagine you have a product which is the form of art exhibited on stand, a bit like a famous campaign, if it remember well, of the bank where you could cut the bread with your credit card. So I mean, how can you substitute the product for presentation only?
Well, sometimes it makes no sense. I mean, usually it makes sense if the product is complex rather than pretty. So if you have a complex product that is really difficult to understand, and it's difficult to understand why should I get this product? Why do I buy this? And how does that create some value for me? Then it makes sense to do this. If you have something that's just pretty, then maybe there are better ways to display it, because you don't actually have to demonstrate it, you have to show it, which is a difference. So I think here it's about being able to interact with the product and being able to actually try it, take it for a spin, test drive it, so to speak. That's what we can do with Engage. And when we talk about trade fairs, and we talk about, for example, companies like Hägglunds. So they make these motors. You saw them in the video. And if you just look at the motor, it doesn't tell you anything. But now they could demonstrate how the motors operate within their actual context, in the context of mining. Where do you put the motors? What do they do? And why are they good for driving like this band with stones or whatever it was? There are some actual functions that make sense in that context. In that context, you wouldn't be able to show at a trade fair. I mean, you could show a picture of it maybe, but it's not the same thing. So here you get to experience the product in its natural habitat, so to speak, and you get to understand it without using words. You don't have to read. You don't have to look at the spec sheet. You don't have to, take a brochure that you're going to put in the trash can later. So here you actually get an understanding that is much more intuitive and sort of human friendly, relating to how we actually learn about things.
Okay, let me see now. I don't think we have any more questions at the moment. Let's give the audience a final chance to type in some questions. And if we don't get any more questions, I think we could take a next step forward in our little presentation, because we don't have any right now. And maybe it's time for us to wrap it up and say thanks and goodbye, maybe.
And thank you, everybody, for your questions. Those were really interesting questions, I think.
Yeah, thanks for that. So thanks, and special thanks to both of you speakers. Maybe some final words from you guys before we end it up.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a great pleasure to be here, and I hope to see you again and create some good cases. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody, for coming, and feel free to share the content that you will get with others once we send it out. I guess tomorrow or next couple of days. In any case, you will get the content. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for your interest, and thank you for listening so attentively to us today. And I hope to meet you very soon. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, so thanks everyone for taking your time this afternoon, and we're going to close down the webinar now. And whatever you do out there, be careful. It's a busy, tough world out there these days. So with that, I'll say thanks and bye-bye, and we'll end the webinar.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.